Do it. Make your dreams come true. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Just do it.
It's hard to have a discussion about leadership when we don't really have a common definition of what a leader is. You know, I read the same books as everybody else. You know, a lot of them tell us to sort of learn your style of leadership, how to adapt your style of leadership to fit the situation at hand. That's not leadership, that's management. To be a leader, you need one thing and one thing only: followers. That's it. It has nothing to do with rank or authority. You are a leader when others raise their hands and volunteer to go in the direction you set. The question is, why should anyone follow you? There are many ways to get people to do the things that we want or to follow us. In fact, it all boils down to two things. You can either manipulate people or you can inspire them. Those are your options. We're all familiar with manipulations in the business world. Things like dropping your price. If you drop your price low enough, people will buy from you, right? This is the concept behind a sale. Things are priced to move. Promotions, 2 for 1, free toy inside, buy one, get one free. And in the business-to-business space, we call it value added. The concept is the same. It's giving stuff away for free to reduce someone's risk so they'll choose you over the competition. It is inherently manipulative. Fear, wonderful manipulator. If any of you are parents, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Peer pressure is another one. I'm sure we've all sat in our offices and had someone tell us, you know, 70% of your competitors are using our service, why aren't you? Maybe 70% of my competitors are idiots. Or maybe 70% of them were offered a price so low they couldn't resist. I don't know. The point is, when we hear that the majority is doing something, we either fear that we're being left out or that they know something that we don't, and it influences our behavior. One of my favorite manipulations is what companies like to call innovation. Real innovation changes the course of industries, if not the way we live our very lives. The fax machine, the light bulb, iTunes, this is real innovation. Adding a camera to your cell phone is a wonderful feature, but it is not an innovation. It's the difference between steps and leaps. And what most organizations like to call innovation is in reality novelty, little additions to their products, nothing earth-shatteringly different. In the 1970s, do you know how many choices of Colgate toothpaste there were? Take a guess. 2. Do you know how many there are now? 30. And that's just Colgate, which means that their competition is offering about the same number of products, about the same price, about the same quality, about the same service. And yet I have no data to show that people are brushing their teeth now more than they were 30 or 40 years ago. What happened was this annoying little thing called globalization, and markets opened up, and competition increased, and the metrics went down. It doesn't matter which one, market share, revenue, profits, it doesn't matter. The metrics went down. And then to combat that, the company added a new product. This one has fluoride. And people went, ooh, shiny. And they tried it, and the metrics went up. But the problem with competition is they compete, and they match the product about the same, and the metrics went down again. Well, it worked the first time, so we'll do it again, and again, and again, and again, until you have 30 different line extensions. And what's one of their big complaints these days, like so many other companies? How do we differentiate ourselves? That's hilarious to me. How do we get out of a problem that we created for ourselves? And so they resort to any number of the other manipulations. Now, I cannot dispute that these and many other manipulations work. They absolutely do. That's why we use them. The problem is, none of them breed loyalty. The problem is, none of them engender trust. The problem is, over the course of time, it costs more money because somebody has to pay for all this stuff. And over the course of time, it increases stress both for the buyer and for the seller. We live in a world today in which most products and most services, B2B or B2C, are sold this way. In other words, people are being bombarded with manipulations from all sides for all reasons from any number of products. It is stressful to be a decision maker these days. It is stressful to decide which product or which service is right for me. But it's equally as stressful to be on the selling side, in which we have to operate in a world in which the vast majority of things are sold through bombarding people with manipulations and promotions and value added. And so it's hard for us, if we truly have something special, to stand out in the crowd and be noticed. It's called stress. This is largely the world we live in today. But there's an alternative. That alternative is called inspiration. And there are only a few leaders and a few organizations that tend to rely vastly more on inspiration than manipulation. And I'll talk about some of the big ones, like Apple Computers or Harley Davidson or Southwest Airlines. But you see the same pattern in great leaders like Nelson Mandela or Martin Luther King or John F. Kennedy. What I learned is that regardless of their size and regardless of their industry, every single one of these organizations, every single one of these leaders with the capacity to inspire, they all think, act, and communicate the exact same way, and it's the complete opposite to the rest of us. All I did was write it down.
If we look to the answer as to why for so many years we achieved so much, prospered as no other people on earth, it was because here in this land, we unleashed the energy and individual genius of man to a greater extent than has ever been done before. Freedom and the dignity of the individual have been more